Welcome back, Particle People. Today we're going to be discussing Deadlock, one of Valve's newest games. It's essentially if League of Legends and Overwatch had a baby. This game is really well done. I'd say most things about it are fantastic. If you haven't played it already, all you have to do is find somebody who has access and they can give you access. It's like a friend-to-friend thing right now. There's actually a few things that I hate about it, and I do want to be completely fair, starting from the beginning all the way through gameplay, so let's start with the characters. You see, it's a MOBA hero shooter-esque deal, so it's really important that you resonate with at least one of their characters. Luckily enough for me, I happen to resonate with exactly one of their characters, and I really don't care for the rest, design-wise. So running down the roster, we first have Abrams, who just reminds me of Etrigan, Bebop, who looks like if Bastion and Blitzcrank had a baby. He plays like that too, honestly. Dynamo I actually don't have any problems with design-wise, although it doesn't really seem to be doing anything special. Grey Talon, whose baggy pants and the way they run make me giggle. Gonna contradict what I said earlier, because Haze is well designed, I very much like it. Infernus just makes me think of Father from Kids Next Door, otherwise well designed, minus 5 points for the fedora. Ivy is just a pain to look at, I'm sorry. It's cool to try things that are new, but this character is just ugly to me. Kelvin, who feels like a stock image of what you'd expect when you hear the word Arctic Man, not to mention his name is Kelvin, get it? Kelvin cold temperature. Lady Geist looks like she just retired from stealing all of the Dalmatians, but they gave her a Swain arm because that makes it neat. Lash is Diet Braum. McGinnis is just unremarkable in every way. Mo and Krill are really cool conceptually, however that is a face that only a mother could love. The skull to face ratio is really kind of weirding me out. Paradox is a-okay, looks like a Warframe wearing clothing. I'm pretty sure Pocket is just Eugene from the Try Guys. 7 is a solid 7 out of 10, Kaputsis. That's what drums sound like when you try to do them with your face and have no talent. And Shiv. I hate Shiv. Shiv looks like an Elvis impersonator who's been getting swirlies at the local school's toilet for the last decade. Please redesign Shiv, I hate his design so much. Then we have Vindicta, which wouldn't really be a bad design except for her ponytail happens to be a butt plug. Viscous looks like a recycled Scooby-Doo antagonist. And then we have Warden, who is simply just a cop in design. However, I absolutely love Warden, so we will not disrespect Daddy. Wraith is a fairly solid design. I like the extra arm inside of the coat, that's cool. And Yamato, who just has so much forehead it's distracting. Some may say forehead for days. But of the over 20 characters that we have, I can say they did one thing right, and that's keeping the color palette muted. Even though I personally hate some of these guys and the way they look, I'm sure people can at least accept most of their presence because they're not so wild and outrageously colored. It also gives them a good baseline palette to work with cosmetics coming down the line. Maybe we can start to change some of these aspects, although we can never fix Shiv. Unfortunately, he's too far gone. Momentary side tangent, everybody loves to dunk on Concord for their terrible character design, and while I do agree some of their characters were terrible, a lot of it I felt was the palette. And no, that's not to say that that's my own original thought. I saw that on Twitter, but imagine if some of these characters had like very crazy colors. I'm pretty sure they'd look awful too. Anyway, back to the topic of the video. We've talked about how these characters look. Now, how do they play? And the simple answer is they play fantastic. Everything from the beginner-friendly characters to the more advanced and hard-to-play characters is incredibly self-explanatory. I will admit, for me, it feels a little bit weird using the 1, 2, 3, 4 keys in order to use my abilities, but that's just because I've played so much League of Legends. Speaking of which, you should subscribe because I have successfully quit League of Legends and I am not going back, I'm telling myself. I need your subscriptions to support me in not relapsing back to that toxic game. Although the thousands of hours I wasted on that game are worthless to me, I'm going to say that it did help prepare me for Deadlock. A lot of similar mechanics exist here. While there's no designated jungle, there are what you'd consider jungle creeps inside certain buildings who can kill for extra souls, which is the primary currency. You still do have to try to last hit, although it's a lot more forgiving in Deadlock. And you also have to manage your lane opponent while trying to do these things and getting more souls. I honestly think League of Legends is an easier game because at third person shooting down a barrel, my aim gets tested, and these kids are a lot better at aiming than I am. I am bad and I am old. But besides the unstoppable march of time bringing me to be worse and worse at gaming, I do have to say the entire thing feels really awesome. When you're first dropped into a match, you don't have to worry about calling roles or if you're duo or solo in each of your lanes respectively, because you're going to be assigned to where you go at least to start. Personally, I really do prefer when they give me a solo lane, although duo is just as much fun because the tension kind of increases. Also, if you're going to be playing this game for the first time, make sure you're taking out those minions as quickly as possible. The game refers to them as troopers, but I'll always call them minions. If you stand in a group of those, you're going to get shredded faster than Mr. Beast after introducing Lunchables. I'm sorry, it's Lunchly, that's a totally separate product. If you do manage to your lane opponent, you'll be able to find their guardian. This is the first kind of tower of sorts if you're going to compare it to League of Legends. This thing is a powerful monstrosity. Once again, have your minions take the damage for you as you slowly take pot shots at it. And if you manage to take this thing down, the enemy will manage to get less souls from all of the troopers that they kill in the future. And what are souls, you might be asking? Well, I'm glad you asked, my lovely particle child. Souls are the currency inside of the game that can be redeemed for buffs and upgrades that make you more powerful or give you active abilities. You can redeem these at shops all around the map or secondarily at the base where you spawn. This is simultaneously where they do something that I love and something that I hate. Let's start with what I hate first. The icons and the descriptions of what the abilities you can buy are so long and so cumbersome, it is very difficult to on the fly figure out what you're supposed to be building. There's a lot of times when I have to make a tough decision, but I don't know what any of these things do without thoroughly reading them, so I'm losing a lot of time in the actual game. I think they would benefit a lot from the League of Legends thought process by having these items/buffs show you exactly what they do and which type of characters they're meant for. Like in League of Legends, an attack speed item is typically meant for like a marksman, somebody who wants to do a bunch of attacks really quickly, so you'll always know that something that starts with attack speed can be built later into something else that you also want. However, since you don't really build out of a lot of items in this shop, it's very difficult to understand what exactly you need. And yes, they do give you some recommended items, but they do not fill all of your slots, and you'll have most of those pretty early if you're pretty efficient at farming, so it just gets really confusing and a lot of choices have to be made. Granted, if you do play this game long enough, you will start to get a hang of it. I'm starting to experience that now. And now on to the thing that I really love about this shop. This game does not mind if you are crazy bananas in strongness. That was a terrible way to say that. But what I mean is, you can easily become a 1v6 kind of god in this game by getting a tempo advantage and pushing in very particular pressure points. My favorite strategy to do so is to push my lane as hard as possible to force my enemy out, take the first guardian, fall back, get some camps if I can find them. I'm using that to refer to the monsters hidden inside buildings, buy an item, and then hop into one of my allies' lanes to push that one as well before returning to my primary lane. Now, if you've played a MOBA before, you know this isn't revolutionary, but what a lot of MOBAs do is they kind of cap your power. But Deadlock isn't like that. Unlike other MOBAs, you can become so powerful that dealing with those guardians by yourself is completely plausible. Running into the enemy's base and 1v3ing something you can totally do. Remember, guardians don't mean shit if you've got that Ohio Riz. Did I do it right, Gen Z? Did I say it right? And deeper in the lair, you can find that they have a walker, which is essentially a four-legged guardian. It's really not that intimidating, just don't get too close or it will stun you. Finally, once you get through the rest of the remaining defenses, which includes more guardians, you can face the enemy's patron. Destroying that patron means that you win the game, which is super cool and awesome, but I will admit that at this part of the game, it always feels to stall out a little bit. It seems like it's really hard to actually end games. They should 100% add a forfeit button, because some of these games that I've been in have been like 50 minutes long, and it's just not fun at that point. But despite the negatives I've gone over in this video, it is important to stress that this game is still in early access, and it is a fantastic starting point. Even with the fact that it needs a bit of polish, everything feels super good in the game. The balancing is fantastic, the objectives are clear and fun, the controls are fantastic. I can't wait to see where this goes. Hopefully it goes in the direction of deleting Shiv, but hey, have you gotten to play Deadlock? What do you think? Are you excited for its full release? Let me know in the comments. As always, this has been San for Days. I'm Course, and I get everywhere. Bye bye now.